So you've probably seen this idea of a second brain and just working with AI agents. I want to talk through getting started with that stuff. Now, it appears the idea of a second brain came from this book, which actually has nothing to do with AI. It came out a few months before that major ChatGPT release, which changed the world. But the idea of this is actually the same in that he's talking about organizing all of your knowledge and ideas into folders. And that's all this is, except you're telling the AI where to look for different bits of information. We'll get to that. Bigger picture here is we're in Cursor. Now, Cursor's got built-in AI. So it's VS Code, which is a development tool. So it's for writing code that they've stuck some AI on. And you can use this. There's a free version. And everything I'm about to explain, you can do in Cursor. I'm going to use Claude just because it's really popular. And I think it's what people are used to seeing at this point. But you can use literally anything. These are broad ideas that will be applied to any LLM. They all have the same ideas. They all have context windows. They all start to fail when those context windows get full. They all get really expensive if you use the wrong model, blah, blah, blah. So that's what we're going to talk about. And with all of them, you can do what we're going to do here because they're all insanely intelligent. So what I'm going to do first of all is create our Claude.md file, and you'll hear me speaking in an American accent at times. That's when I'm speaking to my microphone because it doesn't really understand my East Lancashire tones, unfortunately. So I'm going to do new file, just this little button there, call it Claude.md, and then a little thing to get used to as well is if you can sort of just right click and copy the relative path. Now in this instance it's just the name of the file because we're in root, and I'm just going to say update Claude.md with information around what this project is all about. It's a knowledge base and a command center and a second brain for my PPC agency, and its job is to orchestrate between all of the information stored within this project. I have no idea if that made any sense, but hopefully it can make sense of it and magically make some text appear. It's saying it wants permission, you can have it, and there you go, it's created this. Now by default we could just update this file with our preferences, and honestly that's still amazing. It's amazing for a couple of reasons. When you're in ChatGPT or any sort of chat bot, you're going to talk to it and then you're going to go away and then you're going to go back and you're going to talk to it again and you're going to say, no, I prefer it when you are really nice to me and you use British spelling, and then it's just going to forget. Where this is always going to remember, and not only is it always going to remember, you can then change your mind later on, which is kind of difficult within like a web version of this stuff. And the reason this is so flexible is because it can update itself. And this is another thing we need to tell it. Also mention in the Claude.md file that this needs to be a self-updating engine. Anything you are told in terms of user preferences or anything similar to that, I want you to update the relevant file with that new information. So the idea is we're constantly building out our second brain. And then now it's going to take that information, update the Claude.md file. And it's just always better to get it to update itself. And you're kind of practicing working with it as well. And so now it's continuously evolving, which is what we want. And did I mention the English thing in here? No. I'm going to say, I want you to always use British English. Now notice, I didn't tell it to update Claude.md, but hopefully it will, because that's what I've told it I want it to always do. I'm maintaining across all documentation going forward. It didn't work. Okay, that's fine. Do you know what it might be? So I just want to copy this and say it again. So this Claude.md file only gets loaded when Claude first opens. Until then, it doesn't know. So despite the fact that I've told it I want it to be a self-updating engine, it doesn't sort of digest that information in the chat as well as it will information in this ClaudeMD. The ClaudeMD sort of becomes part of its soul, and it's going to really listen. So the way to get it to sort of reread this is just to exit and then go back in. So I'm going to Control C a few times. I'm going to press up. I'm going to press enter, so we go back into Claude, and then I'm going to paste in the same thing, and we'll see if it's going to be aware enough to update itself. And I've no issue. This is already documented in memory. Is it? No, it isn't. Okay, let me see. Ensure that when I update preferences or mention any preferences, they are updated specifically within this project's files. I'm saying that because I wonder if I've mentioned the British spelling thing somewhere else on my computer and it's going off that. That's absolutely possible. Okay, there we go. Now it's making a change and it's mentioning the type of English that I want. So now I'm gonna exit out again. I'm going to go up. I'm going to say, write a tweet about the best colours to use in web design. Keep it short. Don't ask questions. And it should spell colours with a U because it's going off this information where I mention the way I want things to be spelt. And there it is. So we're about 50% there, right? Hopefully you get the idea now that we've created this self-updating thing. Like you might talk to a person and tell it, remember something for next time, and it will. And also the point that you're going to often change your mind on some of this stuff and go, actually, just ignore that. Because it can take things too literally or whatever. And so you want to be able to change your mind. So I'm just going to close this side panel. So the problem now is, I'm just going to do Command and J to bring that down. The problem now is, as you can imagine, this is going to get really big really fast. You know, we're trying to build a brain here with loads of information about clients and strategies and things like that. So it's all about context. So I'm just going to Control J again to bring this back up. So the way we're going to go about this to make sure that this isn't really full is to create more files in different folders and keep it organized, just like I'm sure it talks about in that book. So why? Why? I mean, why don't we just give it all that information and tell it to crack on? It's simply because this is very much our camel and we're adding lots of straw, and it's not just about that final straw that breaks its back. Even as it gets heavier and heavier, it gets encumbered, it just stops working anywhere near as well. And not only that, it's going to cost you more money. Whether you directly linking this to the API via an API key, or you're just paying for Claude Pro at $20 a month, you're going to use up your allowance of tokens really quickly. And, you know, if this is across a company with a lot of people using it and everyone's using this the wrong way, quote unquote, wrong way, that's going to cost a lot of money. So what we want to do, is break this information out. So let's imagine we want to write, come on, let's think. No, let's do clients. So I'm going to say clients folder. And then within this, we have Brian's plants, like so. And then within here, we won't do a folder, we'll do a file. And we'll do an overview .md of his shop. Then I've just had Claude off camera create an example overview. So obviously you'll do this with one of your clients and you'll include all the information. And all you can see immediately how this would be useful. You'll add invoicing terms, things like that. And now we've got overview. Now, overview isn't like a recognized thing. So by default, it's unlikely to find it. But this is where the brain comes in and where the neural network thing comes in. We go into Claude. And again, I'm not going to update it directly, but I'm going to say update Claude.md. And then look at the folder structure within this project. And I want to make a note that that's where all of the clients are based. So the next time this loads, the second brain knows where the clients are and knows which files to look for. Hopefully that makes sense for it. We will find out. But what we essentially want this to do is do an actual path, is store an actual path to this file or even just to this folder. And that's the beauty of this, because it's an agent. It's clever enough that we can just give it those instructions and it will traverse folders and whatever else to find things. Okay, so now we've got directory layout, Claude, clients. Oh, I'll just change that. Client name, overview, and other client resources, right? So I'm gonna cancel out of Claude with Command C a couple of times, and then I'm gonna go back in. So it's Monday morning, it's a new week, and it's a new Claude session, right? I'm gonna say, write a tweet for Brian's plants. Make it pithy and interesting and don't ask any questions. Now, by default, that doesn't mean anything to Claude. And even within this Claude.md, it doesn't mean anything. But hopefully what it's going to do is going to recognize that that's one of the clients and it's going to write the tweet. There's actually only a 50% chance this will work because, to be fair, I should have listed the clients, the actual clients within this file. But let's give it a go. And if it doesn't work, we'll try again. I'm just going to copy this for if we need to try again. And there's going to be a bit of this, a bit of just like figuring stuff out. Plants called, they're doing brilliantly. See, it selected 12 lines from Claude.md within cursor. So I don't think it worked. So what we're going to do instead, we're going to say, also within Claude.md, we want to keep a list of existing clients. So whenever new clients are added, we want to create the individual files in the correct folders, but also maintain a list within our knowledge base. I said knowledge base. I meant second brain. And now it's doing cloud.nd. Oh, Claude.md. I wish they'd have called it something pronounceable like table. Okay, so that did it. And then now we've got clients. Okay, didn't add Brian, add the current clients. There's only one, but... And there you go, it's added Brian's plants. Okay, now this should work. It's got a list of clients, it knows where they are, it should have all the information it needs. Now I should say, what I wish I did at the beginning of all of this is just right-clicked this, did copy relative path, and said, you know, just mention this, like that. And it just knows where that file is. And that's often the best thing you can do when you're building this stuff up. So anyway, let's exit out. So I've done Control-C a few times. I'm going to do clear, just to clean things up. I'm going to do Claude, because it's a new session. Okay, this is brand new. It's read this in, and I'm just going to say, tell me about Brian's plants. Any other sort of session, he would have no idea what that meant. But it's come into this, it's seen that it's a client, and then we kind of sew it up here. Let me just scroll up. And then it traversed our client's directory, went into Brian's pants, and it's given us this important information that it's Brian Calloway, Mel Torres. You always want to talk to Mel, she's the best. Operations manager. and whatever other information we might need. So hopefully you get an idea of how insanely intelligent this can be, because this can and should go even deeper than this. You know, within overview, and I wouldn't do overview. Do you know what I would do? I'd do within these files. I'd do another Claude.md. But let's say in clients we've got Claude.md. Within this, we can also say reference these folders. So it's like a full, and this can be folders in folders and folders and get really complicated, like quite a complex tree or network of information. So we start off here, and then it's just going to keep reading this and go, oh great, I need to go into clients, and it's going to go clients, and then because Claude.md is in clients, it's going to read this, and it's going to go, great, now I'm going to go into the individual client folders or whatever it might be. So let's update this term. I'm just going to right click. I'm going to copy relative path, and I'm going to say update the following file. Just mention that I always want there to be at least an overview.md and a progress.md. And progress is where we're going to keep the to-do list for the client. And then I'm going to paste in the path just to make sure it's really clear. Yes. Okay, nice. And so now, let's just say, create a task for Brian's plants. I need to review search terms. And in fact, let's do that every Monday morning. You can start to kind of use this as a project management tool as well. So has that done it? Progress.md. And so this where we can sort of keep an eye on the state of play. So this is progress, where it's sort of, this is what's going to keep changing as tasks change. And then this might be an overview. And then there'll be lots more information for this individual client. And then there'll be information for like broader topics, like specifically how we want to review search terms. How we want to review search terms shouldn't be in clients. It should be in analysis. And then that will follow sort of a similar layout. And so that's kind of it. I know I'm going a million mile an hour. And you might need to have a play around before this really makes sense. I suppose the main point is, hopefully you've seen that if you give it these paths and tell it where to look, then it will traverse things automatically without filling up the context window, and you can tell it to update its own preferences. So I'm just going to come out again just for like a final explanation. So Claude, it's Tuesday morning now, and we've opened this up, and I can just say what is outstanding for Brian's plants. I suppose we can just say client tasks. Let's do that. Let's be really vague. What client tasks do I have outstanding? This is cool. And obviously, like, the way it's talking to me now is kind of a default way. But what you really want to do is sort of update this Claude.md or a different Claude.md with more of a style of how you want things to be written back to you. So look, it's like, it's recognized that Brian's plants is one of our clients. It's recognized where our tasks are stored, and it's recognized that we want to review search terms, right? And then, and this is what I'm not going to get into, you can create skills, and your skill might be the expert skills for sort of executing tasks without getting too much into it. And then on the back of that, it will recognize that, well, the to-do task is search terms. We have a search term task. Maybe you will have some code within here that you've vibe coded, which is also part of that system. And it will automatically, because it's an agent and because it's really clever, grab from the to-do list. Grab your search terms from the API or whatever, tell you to run a certain script and paste in the results. Tell it when you're ready, and it will analyze those results. It will talk you through everything for each individual task and really speed things up. Okay, that's it. 20 minutes. I honestly thought this would be a 10-minute video, but hopefully that was useful and gets things started. Cheers.